Venezuela, once the richest nation in South America, blessed with the world's largest proven oil reserves. But today, it's at the heart of one of the biggest economic and political crises of our time. And at the center of this crisis stands its tense and complicated relationship with the United States. From oil politics to sanctions, from Cold War rivalry to humanitarian concerns, the Venezuela-USA crisis has become a global flashpoint. In this video, we'll break down the roots of the crisis, how it escalated, and what it means for the future of both countries and the world. To understand the crisis, we need to look back. Venezuela's wealth has always revolved around oil. In the 20th century, American companies dominated its oil industry, and Washington saw Venezuela as a reliable supplier of cheap energy. But the rise of Hugo Chavez in 1999 changed everything. Chavez, a fiery populist leader, launched his Bolivarian revolution. He promised to redistribute oil wealth to the poor, nationalized key industries, and positioned himself as an anti-imperialist voice against the United States. Washington saw him as a threat. Caracas saw Washington as an enemy. This set the stage for decades of confrontation. Under Chavez, Venezuela aligned itself with countries like Cuba, Russia, and later China, building an alternative power bloc. He accused the US of meddling in Latin America, while Washington accused him of undermining democracy. After Chavez's death in 2013, Nicolás Maduro took over, but his presidency coincided with a historic collapse of oil prices. Venezuela, heavily dependent on oil exports, spiraled into economic disaster. Inflation soared into the millions. Shortages of food and medicine became routine. Millions of Venezuelans fled the country. The US placed heavy sanctions on Maduro's government, accusing it of corruption, human rights abuses, and rigged elections. But Maduro refused to back down, painting sanctions as an economic war waged by Washington. In 2019, the crisis exploded onto the global stage. Opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim president, arguing that Maduro's re-election was illegitimate. The United States and dozens of other countries quickly recognized Guaido as the rightful leader. But Maduro held on to power, backed by the military and supported by allies like Russia, China, Turkey, and Iran. The US doubled down with tougher sanctions, targeting Venezuela's vital oil industry. For a country where oil accounts for over 90% of exports, this was devastating. The human cost has been catastrophic. More than 7 million Venezuelans have fled, creating one of the world's largest refugee crises. Inside Venezuela, blackouts, shortages, and hunger became daily struggles. Washington insists sanctions are meant to pressure the regime, not ordinary people. But critics argue sanctions have worsened suffering for millions of Venezuelans. At the heart of the conflict is oil. Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world, even more than Saudi Arabia. For Washington, controlling access to this energy source is strategic. For Caracas, oil is its lifeline. As US sanctions isolated Venezuela, Maduro turned eastward, selling oil to China and forging military ties with Russia. This turned Venezuela into a stage for great power rivalry, reminiscent of the Cold War. Recently, global events like the war in Ukraine and rising oil prices have shifted the dynamics. The US, once Maduro's fiercest critic, quietly began easing some sanctions in exchange for political concessions and oil supplies to stabilize global markets. Still, mistrust runs deep, and Venezuela's political future remains uncertain. The Venezuela-USA crisis is about much more than two countries. It's about oil, power, ideology, and human survival. For Venezuela, the challenge is rebuilding its shattered economy and restoring democracy. For the United States, it's balancing strategic interests with humanitarian responsibility. One thing is clear: until Venezuela finds stability, its people and the region will continue to live with the consequences of this turbulent relationship. If you found this analysis helpful, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, and share it with others who want to understand global politics better.